So, it's so confusing. Where's my... Do you want to start it like right now?
Yeah, just start it now. Is there enough sound?
Wait, shit, why? Okay, start. This is that. Ah. Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, not that one. Start it? Yeah.
Doctor and I share a mutual respect, perhaps love, and maybe some similar slides. So I was born in Arizona, but I spent most of my summers in Central Texas on our family's ranch. We were lucky; we weren't dependent on the ranch for our primary income, so we got the experience of raising animals without the stress of trying to make a living from it, which can be very stressful. This is a picture of me, a fuzzy picture of me with my father and our beef master bull named Tiger. I love this bull. So as I grew up, I decided that I wouldn't go into the cattle business because I didn't want to go broke, and I decided that anything would be easier than that. So I studied microbiology, genomics, and public health. And today I have, yeah, exactly. Anything is easier. So today, I think I have one of the greatest jobs ever. I track superbugs. So I use DNA to understand where these things are coming from. And on one hand, my job is super exciting and fun because I get to see how these amazing little microbes exchange genes, pick up mutations, and become resistant to antibiotics, and then take off around the world. They're amazing. But on the other hand, my job is pretty depressing. For some of the same reasons, but also because I see the victims of these superbugs. I've met the victims who barely survive with their lives, and sadly, I've met parents who have lost their children to these superbugs. And this is just a cute name that we use for antibiotic-resistant bacteria. So these are bacteria that are resistant to our best antibiotics. And it turns out that the CDC is saying that those parents that are losing children are not so rare. 23,000 Americans die, this is a conservative estimate, 23,000 Americans die of superbug infections each year. And so understanding their origins is really essential. And on some levels, it's really simple. It's just a matter of evolution. So let's pretend for a minute this is a very small group of bacteria. Bacteria usually travel in packs of billions. Every now and then, when you have a big group of bacteria, one of them is going to pick up a mutation or a gene from another bacteria that makes them resistant to antibiotics. If that's happening in an environment where you have a lot of antibiotics, then the susceptible bacteria, that is the non-resistant ones, are going to die off. And the resistant ones are going to go on to multiply. And the thing about bacteria is they multiply very quickly. So E. coli, for instance, can double every 30 minutes. And you can go from a single cell, a single drug-resistant E. coli, in less than to a billion, more than a billion, in 24 hours. So this is simple Darwinian evolution, but Darwinian evolution in real time. And so if you're like me and you're interested in knowing where these superbugs are coming from, then you have to go to the places where we're using a lot of antibiotics. And the first thing that probably comes to mind are hospitals, right? In the United States, we're using 7.7 million pounds of antibiotics in human medicine each year. This is way too much. We're overdosed. And we're trying to bring that down. But we're using 30 million pounds of antibiotics in food animal production each year. 30 million pounds. And the data, or the best estimates, suggest that only 20% of those antibiotics are being used to treat sick animals. 80% are being used as production tools. They're being used to make animals grow faster. They're being used to prevent diseases or treat diseases that are occurring just because of the way we're raising animals. The industry calls these production diseases. But rather than change production, we're just using antibiotics. Use, context is critical. So you have to look at how we're producing these animals. And if you're like me, this was your first image of a farm, right? And I think many of us carry this around. This is still propagated, right? The red barn, the silo, the happy little animals, pigs that look like dogs. There are, but I love these toys. And this has clearly had a huge influence on my life, Fisher Price. But this is not the way we raise animals in the United States. We raise animals in concentrated animal feeding operations. So pigs spend their entire lives on concrete slabs surrounded by their own feces. Cattle will spend part of their lives grazing, like on my family's ranch, but they'll end up on these fecal wastelands that we call feedlots, where they're exchanging bacteria and fattening up for slaughter. Chickens spend their lives beak to feather with 75,000 of their best friends, and turkeys spend their lives much the same. Now, people call these things factory farms. That's a term that the industry hates. Reason enough to use it every now and then. But when I see these factories, when I see these operations, I don't see factories making meat. I see factories making trillions and trillions and trillions of drug-resistant bacteria. No, the most diabolical villain could not design a better system for creating superbugs than the modern cave bug. You have everything you need. You have tens of thousands of animals crammed together in filthy, stressful conditions. You have bacteria, loads of bacteria, right, living in those animals, spreading between those animals. And then you have the magic ingredient. You have a steady stream of low-dose antibiotics. And we've known for decades that low-dose antibiotics creates drug-resistant bacteria. Alexander Fleming, we heard about this. Alexander Fleming warned us. He said ignorant men would use these drugs at low doses and create superbugs. And the science has proven this over and over again ever since then. 45. And ever since then, we've seen the evidence of this. But some people, some ignorant men, still ignore that science and actually promote the use of low-dose antibiotics. The food animal industry itself promotes the use of antibiotics to grow animals faster and to control diseases. They promote antibiotics as if they're a tool, our life-saving drugs as a tool. But antibiotics are not tools. You know, antibiotics are amazing drugs. And what I would say is that if you've designed a system that requires a constant input of antibiotics to keep animals from getting sick, then that system's broken. If you treat based on a clock, thank you. If you're treating based on a clock or a calendar, there's something wrong. And you have to reinvent that system. You have to change that system to raise healthy animals. Again, antibiotics are not tools. They're not just tools for us to abuse. Antibiotics are what Stuart Levy called societal drugs. Let me use a counterexample to get this point across. If you misuse Tylenol, or if you misuse acetaminophen, the active ingredient in Tylenol, you can destroy your liver and die. You'll die a horrible death. But that doesn't affect anybody else's ability to take Tylenol for a headache. If you misuse antibiotics, I told you it influenced my life, right? If you misuse antibiotics, you can create drug-resistant bacteria inside you, on you, that can then spread to other people in society and prevent them from being treated with that same antibiotic. Right? That's why we call these societal drugs. The problem with using them in food animal production is that animals, like people, have trillions of bacteria living in them. And when you feed them antibiotics, you're going to force some of those bacteria to become resistant to those antibiotics. And when you butcher those animals to make meat, some of those bacteria inevitably get onto that meat, and then those go on to cause drug-resistant infections in people. That's the problem. And you have, in America, you have an industry that's knowingly using subtherapeutic uses of antibiotics, creating drug-resistant bacteria, and then distributing those bacteria to every grocery store in the country. And then what happens, like the recent Foster farms outbreak with drug-resistant salmonella, multi-drug resistant salmonella. What happens? They blame us. They say, people need to cook their meat better. Could you imagine would we allow a company to pump toxic fumes into the air and then tell us to wear gas masks? I don't think we would allow that. Some people have called me an alarmist. Some people say I use alarmist terminology. And I guess rather than deny that, I say, yeah, I'm trying to ring the alarm. I see that our house is on fire and I'm not satisfied with sitting inside the house as it burns to the ground. I'm not the only one using strong language to describe these superbugs, to describe this challenge that we face. Other groups are using the words crisis, nightmare, catastrophic threat. But these aren't radicals saying this. This is the World Health Organization. This is the CDC, the UK Health Ministry saying this. These people are not prone, these groups are not prone to hyperbole. They see what I see. They see that we're barreling towards a time when our antibiotics no longer work. It's going to change our lives completely. They see that our house is on fire and there's no place else to live. But despite all this, I actually consider myself an optimist. I see that we can change this. I know, I've seen very clear evidence from Denmark, from other places around the world, that if you remove the antibiotics from food animal production, you revert to being susceptible to those antibiotics again. You're still going to have bacteria in the meat. You still have to cook it, yes. You still have to handle it correctly. But when people get sick, and people still get sick, you can treat them with antibiotics and make them better again. That's where we should be using the antibiotics, to treat sick people. How do we put this fire out? First thing, we have to embrace this idea that antibiotics are different, that they're a societal drug, and value them for what they are. I'm a scientist. They're just short of a miracle. They're almost a miracle, right? They save people's lives, so we should only be using them to treat sick people and sick animals. But we should change our system of raising animals so that they don't get sick, that they're healthy animals. We need to increase hygiene in our hospitals, in our homes, and in our food production system. And yes, we need new antibiotics, but this is not the answer. This is not the ultimate answer. We've had so many new antibiotics since Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin. We've had so many, and each time the bacteria became resistant to them. Why? Because we've introduced them to a broken system. We have to change the system. And yeah, we'll get new antibiotics, but let's introduce it into a system that doesn't create drug-resistant bacteria. The good news is the models exist. So there are food animal production systems that are highly efficient, even industrialized systems that don't need antibiotics, that don't use antibiotics. And then there are the more natural, the open air, the more traditional forms of raising animals that are becoming hopefully more popular. This is my friend Kai. He's a Danish pig farmer, and I went to his farm one day, and I was struck when he stood in his pen with these pigs, massive, massive hogs. One comes up to him and kind of leans against his legs like a dog, and he reaches down and he rubs its ear, and he says, "I love this. I'm a farmer again." And he said, when we used to use the drugs, when we had these animals packed in here too tight, they were stressed out, they were angry, and it was dangerous. He said, now look at it, and gives me one of these big smiles. So my dream is that we stop propping up this broken system with antibiotics, that we let farmers be farmers again, that we have animals live like healthy animals again, and that we save antibiotics for future generations. But we have to act now. Thank you.
This one.
They're the perfect superbug, a bug that could kill hundreds of millions of people. Well, it is happening right now. We are in the process of creating a superbacterium. Bacteria are among the oldest living things on this planet. The smallest thing we still consider life, they are masters of survival and can be found everywhere. Most bacteria are harmless to us. Your body hosts trillions of them and they help you to survive. But others can invade your body, spread quickly and kill you. Millions of people used to die as a result of bacterial infections until we developed a superweapon, antibiotics. Together with vaccinations, antibiotics revolutionized medicine and saved millions of lives. Antibiotics kill the vast majority of susceptible bacteria fairly quickly, leaving only a small group of survivors that our immune system then deals with easily. How do antibiotics do this? Imagine a bacterium as a very complex machine with thousands of complex processes going on that keep it alive and active. Antibiotics disrupt this complex machinery, for example, by interfering with its metabolism, slowing down their growth significantly so they are less of a threat. Other antibiotics attack DNA and prevent it from being replicated, which stops bacteria from multiplying, ultimately killing them. Or by simply ripping the outer layer of the bacteria to shreds so that their insides spill out and they die quickly. All of this without bothering body cells. But now, evolution is making things more complicated. By pure random chance, a small minority of the bacteria invading your body might have evolved a way to protect themselves. For example, by intercepting the antibiotics and changing the molecule so it becomes harmless. Or by investing energy in pumps that eject the antibiotics before they can do damage. The few immune bacteria are not that big a deal because the immune system can take care of them. But if they escape, they might spread their immunity. How can bacteria spread immunity? First of all, bacteria have two kinds of DNA, the chromosome and small free-floating parts called plasmids. They can hug each other and exchange those plasmids to exchange useful abilities. This way, immunity can be spread quickly through a population. Or in a process called transformation, bacteria can harvest dead bacteria and collect DNA pieces. This even works between different bacteria species and can lead to superbugs, bacteria that are immune to multiple antibiotics. A variety of superbugs already exist in the world. Especially hospitals are the perfect breeding grounds for them. Humans have short memories. The horrors of the pre-antibiotic era have been forgotten. Today, we treat this powerful medicine as a commodity instead of as the game-changing achievement of science that it is. This has led to a strange disconnect. Hundreds of millions of people still don't have access to antibiotics in developing countries, while in other parts of the world, antibiotics are prescribed too freely and taken without care. Antibiotics should be a last resort drug, not something you take because your cold is annoying. Another serious problem is antibiotic use in meat production. At any particular point in time, humanity holds between 20 and 30 billion animals as livestock. To make meat cheaper, many animals are held in horrible conditions, in very tight spaces, and in unhygienic conditions, the perfect breeding ground for a disease. So many animals are given antibiotics to kill as many bacteria as possible and prevent them from getting sick, because a cheeseburger has to cost $1. Unsurprisingly, as a result of this system, we have created more and more bacteria that are resistant to antibiotics. To counteract this, we use different antibiotics, and we have another secret weapon. There are specific antibiotics that are used to wipe out bacteria that have developed resistance. There are strict rules for using these to avoid the creation of a superbacterium. Or so we thought. In late 2015, scary news arrived from China. Resistance against colistin, a last-ditch antibiotic, had been discovered. Colistin is an old drug and was rarely used because it can damage the liver. So there was little resistance against it, which made it a great antibiotic of last resort for certain complex infections that occur in hospitals to fight bacteria that have become immune to a whole bunch of other drugs. Bacterial resistance to colistin is very, very bad news. It might destroy a last line of defense and lead to a whole lot of dead people. How could this happen? Millions of animals in Chinese pig farms have been given colistin for years. Resistant bacteria developed, spreading first from animal to animal and then to humans without being noticed. On an average day, there are over 100,000 flights on Earth, kind of connecting every human on the planet. By creating the modern world, we have also built the infrastructure for a dangerous pandemic. Still, we don't need to panic just yet. Bacteria evolve, humans do research. New antibiotics are developed as old ones become obsolete. Technology is advancing every day. The problem is real and serious, but the fight is far from over. If humanity plays its cards right, superbugs might turn out to be not very super after all. This video was made possible by viewer support on patreon.com and a grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. To make more videos, you can buy a Kurzgesagt poster or mug or donate on Patreon. Thank you so much for your help.
All right, first of all, we acknowledge and pay respect to the traditional owners of this land, members of the Kulin Nation, and extend this acknowledgement to past and present elders and other Aboriginal people present. Okay, so in 1928, Alexander Fleming discovered a substance from a fungus which killed Staphylococcus, called it mold juice. We know it today as penicillin, and it has saved countless lives and paved the way for medicine today as we know it. However, with his discovery, Fleming issued a grave warning. He said, "The time may come when penicillin can be bought by anyone in the shops. Then there is a danger that the ignorant man may easily underdose himself, and by exposing his microbes to non-lethal quantities of the drug, make them resistant." Today, careless use of antibiotics worldwide has led to increasing resistance, and humanity risks returning to the dark ages of a pre-antibiotic era. My name is Afnan, and together with my co-convener Jason, we are running this module on antimicrobial resistance to help promote greater discussion and awareness. Honor and privilege of having three esteemed and passionate guests about this issue as facilitators for our evening. We have Beverly Snell, a recipient of the Medal of the Order of Australia, and who has worked with the Burnett Institute and as a specialist consultant for WHO. We also have Professor Jeff Sussman, also a recipient of the Medal of the Order of Australia, and an executive board member in the International Wound Infection Institute. We also have Professor Jose Garcia, who has done extensive research in this field in developing antimicrobials and has experience in the pharmaceutical industry. We are very lucky to have these guests with us. I hope everyone has a fantastic evening, and I'd like to invite Professor Sussman to speak about the importance of what we'll be discussing tonight. Please give him a round of applause.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to see so many people wanting to become involved. Let me first say I'm not a climate skeptic. But what is the greatest risk to the world today? Is it climate change? And the answer is no, it's not. Climate change is a potential risk to the world, but not today. Antibiotic resistance is a problem today. And I don't know whether you read in the newspapers only a few weeks ago that someone died here in Melbourne from untreatable infection. They had tried everything, nothing worked. As you were told before, World Health has become involved. The World Economic Forum, the greatest risk to human health is in the form of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. This is an economic group, and yet they acknowledge that this is the biggest problem. So what is it? Well, organisms, whether bacteria, fungi, viruses, are able to withstand attack by antimicrobial drugs, such as antibiotics, antifungals, antivirals, antimalarials, and it therefore makes standard treatment totally ineffective. New resistant mechanisms emerge, and I'm sure that Jose will speak about some of these particular issues particularly. And without effective anti-infective treatments, the risk is that millions of people will die from what is simple infection because there will be nothing left to treat them. And it's emerging faster than we're replacing with new antibiotics. I'll show a chart later on which will show you that antibiotics become resistant even before they actually marketed. This is how bad it is. Again, hey kid, want to be a superbug? Come and stick this into your genome even penicillin won't be able to harm you. So that's what's happening. Put out a very extensive report in 2014, the global surveillance of antimicrobial resistance. And it's no longer a prediction. It's what's happening right now across the world. And we've got to do something urgently. It's got to be coordinated. It's got to be worldwide, because if we don't, within, I would predict 10 years, we will be in the post-antibiotic era. We'll have no more antibiotics at all, and millions of people will die. The CDC describes infectious disease landscape, which 2 million people in the United States are sickened annually, and 23,000 people die annually in the United States as a result of resistant bugs. And if you look at the graph, you can see it's getting worse and worse and worse. The gram-positive resistance in the United States, MRSE, is now almost 90% resistant. Cost. For years, if you had staph, one of the main intravenous drugs we would use is vancomycin. Costs $1.50 a vial, about $42 a week. But you've got multi-resistant vancomycin bugs out there, so we have to then resort to a drug like linezolid, which costs $143.75 a dose, or $2,015.50 a week. Look at the difference in cost. The impact on the finance of a particular country are scary. And this is a graph which talks about penicillin resistance, particularly to things like Neisseria gonorrhea. And you might think it's no longer a problem, but look at the resistance profile in China. 96.9% are resistant to penicillin. Australia, even Australia, 29.5%. And that's not very good at all. Part of the problem is inappropriate use of antimicrobials and videos, both overuse, underuse, and misuse, all contribute to the problem. And many infectious diseases will one day become uncontrollable. And as you saw in that video, global travel is now so simple and so easy, which means we can spread these things a lot more easily. Part of the problem is subtherapeutic doses of antibiotics used in animal rearing. Stuart Levy, medical microbiologist in Tufts University in 1974, the introduction of routine antibiotic use in agriculture set the stage for global mass experiment in evolving drug-resistant microbes. Low-dose prolonged courses of antibiotics among food animals create ideal selective pressures for the propagation of resistant strains. And this is the problem. It was one of the reasons you saw many topical antibiotics going off the market. There's still a very small place for topicals, but it's very, very small. And yet it worries me when I see plastic surgeons applying chloromacetine topically to their suture lines or their skin grafts. And that's the last antibiotic I would use because of its side effect profile. Now, new antibiotics. We haven't had a really new antibiotic in 40 years. And that's the problem. And if you have a look at this little schema, you can see a drug like, say, the aminoglycosides, discovered in 43, introduced in 46, became resistant in 46. Take long. Even the very last one, which was the new quinolones, 1997, introduced in 2012, resistance in 2006. So 6 years before it was actually introduced into practice, it was already resistant. And that's an enormous problem. Australia appears to have entered in the post-antibiotic era. And this is the one I just talked about. In the Medical Journal of Australia, only a few weeks ago, 59-year-old man from rural Victoria died of severe sepsis from a Klebsiella pneumonia. And they tried every antibiotic, even the ones that we kept back as last resorts, didn't work, and he died. One of the other issues that we face with multi-resistance is tuberculosis. We thought tuberculosis was gone. In fact, now we're seeing multi-resistant tuberculosis, and that is an enormous problem because one person in Australia has already died in Cairns from multi-resistant tuberculosis, and they spent $500,000 in antibiotic treatment without success. So, the situation is dangerous. The time is not far when we'll be back in the dark ages in the pre-antibiotic era. The need of the hour is to be alert as to the gravity of the situation, and we have to take necessary measures to halt this progress. So, what you're going to do tonight is come up with some ideas as to where and how we can find ways of being able to do something about it in a significant way. Because without that, we are going to be in enormous difficulty. And you are all in the beginnings of your lives. You're all young and eager. But you will see in your experiences as you grow older and have children and so on, that this is going to become an enormous problem. It's a problem now, and it's going to become even worse unless we do something about it. So tonight you have this opportunity to try and put your thinking caps on, and between the three of us we will help to guide you, but to really do something in a positive way to say, yes, we can make a difference. Thank you.
Yeah, it's yeah, the fourth one. Yeah, nice. Okay, hey guys, I'm Jason. I'm one of the module conveners as well. You guys are going to find the solution to antimicrobial resistance. In the next hour, you will rotate through 3 workshops. Here, you will not only learn about the issues of antimicrobial resistance, but also work in groups to develop the solution to this problem. Leading you through these 3 workshops are our 3 group leaders. You will have noticed when you have come in today that you have been marked with a specific type of bacteria. Those marked with a pink round bacteria will be led by the Cockeye team, captained by Jason Ha. Those marked with a blue rod-shaped bacteria will be the Bacilli team, captained by Emily. And those marked with a black spiral-shaped bacteria will be the Spirilla team, captained by Brian and Yoni as well. And together, your team will develop a proposal of $15 million for combating antimicrobial resistance. Guiding you through your 3 workshops are 3 experts, Jeff, Beverly, and Jose, who were introduced before. Each of them will spend 20 minutes with you to discuss ideas of antimicrobial resistance in their area of expertise. At the end of the night, 2 representatives from each team will present your ideas to a panel of our 3 guest speakers, our guest facilitators, who will pick the best proposal. These will be based on factors including practicality, cost effectiveness, and efficiency in targeting problem areas. Members of the winning group will win a cute plush toy sponsored by Monash Bookshop and Hebby Jebbies. Yeah. Hebby Jebbies. Yeah. Win them, guys. They're good. I want one too. The stakes are high. Good luck to everyone. Your group leaders' locations are on the slide. So go to your route. We'll just go stay on the slide. That's the back. The back of wherever you want. Okay, you can call this the back. You can call us the back. You meet here. That's the back.
So you can call us over here.
Kidding.
Yeah.
Why are mooncakes so expensive? I'm like obsessed. Because it's like hard to make the detail stuff. Yeah. Is it very good stand? I think so. I hope so. Okay. We're gonna win. Wait, is Christmas okay? Yeah.
That's right, we did too.
Back to you. Yeah. Yep. Hello. Back to you. Hey, Sarah. Wait. No, you must think.
I'm thinking.
How do we fix?
Have dreams.
People have dreams.
Why is that so hard?
So little people. That's okay. Just keep your name tags.
Oh, no.
Are we all here? Back to you.
Are we ready, Team Caucus? Yes, we are. Are we ready, Team Caucus? Yes, all right. Let's have the Team
I'm very
So I think
yeah, they're not on the table. As long as it's actually what to say here was like present the ideas from you.
I'm going to say, have you had enough to eat? There's more food, so you come back later.
Yeah. All the workshops for you. Yeah, no, actually. I'll see up to one. They're not reading speech. Do I have all those speeches? I haven't read. No, I haven't said it. So interesting.
It's fun with their ideas. It's fun with my ideas. That's all. No one's saying it's wrong. Well, they have a 10-minute speech. From the big one. That's it.
Because they're just finally.
There are training great workshops.
Should the
I'm just thinking that after the workshop for me.
Yeah.
After the last week, it's just from here.
That was so true. And how do we go do it? Yeah. Like how do the money matches there?
I don't know what
Yeah. Together.
they want one packet.
Yeah. Oh my god, imagine one more when they come back in so they can grab some food. Well, there's 3 more there. So we go for yeah. Because that was so cute. I was oh my god. I was so there's a lot of them, so I didn't give them out. Oh, adorable! It's not legit eyelashes. I think this is my favorite. Yeah, Patrick.
You guys can put everything on the floor, and I'll take a photo with like you guys with the box.
We actually, I don't know. Is there a?
Well, what compliment?
Oh, so everyone in your group will get one.
No.
I thought it was all the winners get one. Is this enough? Is that?
Not all the winners. Four per group.
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember how you do it. It's not big. So the presented mainly, probably. Oh,
Two presenters, two best contributors, and speakers.
this one I don't like. Nice to have this. Oh, that makes it so much better. They meant to actually be. Oh, they're all bacteria. There's not what it called so much. What is that supposed to mean? Flesh-eating disease.
And it's flash eating. I love flash eating. Oh my god.
Besides, so I'm actually, no, I'm going to take a photo. Black death.
What is that one?
This one. That's my sister has.
I really want to do the microbiology so much better.
My sister has the math
What's your item?
line. So legit has a secret. Yes, because it's got the eyelashes.
What's that? What's that supposed to be?
It says, I like.
Okay.
It said, I like.
You said it out right.
You know, it was kind of evil.
That does look really evil.
Oh my god! Who's gonna get that? Thank you!
That's really weird.
That's good. Yeah. That's so weird. But like adding the bow. Oh, this is so
That's good.
HPV! I just read it. This is like, oh, it's so cute. Can we actually get it?
Right. Oh,
You got the cap on.
I was like, wait, I need you. Wait, how do you do this?
Oh my goodness.
Whose camera is this?
Not mine.
Do you know?
I don't know.
It's my friend. It's my friend.
Is that the beautiful camera?
Oh yeah. Oh no, actually I think I'm on mute. How do you do this? Oh damn. It's
Oh my
god.
god. It's not good.
We said like really neat.
Oh, alright, I'm gonna use the iPhone.
That was an accident.
What? Do you guys know what an MS means? MSAT?
Yeah. Is that because it's not very successful? Yeah. Okay, it works. Guys, I have to reposition with my sperm and Hercules.
You pass me my what is that? My cold. My CQB. No, my kissing virus. Oh, is it? Yes, it's in
And then.
Actually, I don't have one with good Rochelle in it. Let's do another one.
There's no good Rochelle in it.
I said there's no like you're looking away or like it's probably just me. It's me. I'm not very good at photography. As you can see, I'm pretty new to this. It took me like 10 minutes to figure it out.
Oh, can I hold it? This is an amazing camera. Is it working, guys? That's great.
This is spam. This is a spam. This is E. coli. This is.
What is the egg? This is
Sperm.
sperm. Yeah, it is.
I don't remember what they just gave
Oh
us.
no, what is this one? They gave us sperm and they gave us.
Ew! There's a sperm. What's that? Oh, this is a sperm. I'll keep this sperm.
So many things. Like this Snapchat
You have us on Facebook, right?
Imagine,
Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. I was curious as well, like how they come up with this idea.
yeah, it sounds really fun.
Yeah. But I need to deal with the plates. How are we gonna deal with the plates? We need to wash them and like
Wash them?
Yeah.
Why?
Is that
Are we chucking them? Yeah. Recycling, like, wasn't that the idea?
the idea? Recycling them for the next project.
No. Wash dishes. Wash the time dishes last night.
Okay, you guys have fun. Yeah, well, the idea is, that's why we want to buy, like, not the. Okay, I just watched it now.
Spammies up on the song. Jimmy helped me out there. I like to do everything else.
Okay, oh, good.
So worried.
Yeah.
So you're just gonna give these to like, why don't you pass it to someone with a dishwasher? Happens if they
No,
go
there's no soft plastic, it can't be washed by dishwasher. It's not by plastic, they cost too much. That's okay, like, there's just a little bit of these. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys will stay in the lecture theater, right? Look up everything.
What are you guys doing?
She's literally like happiness one. She's yeah. Think about. So yeah. I'll clean up.
Oh, we should probably find the chairs. Yeah. Do you want to put it back? I think we should. In case they're all like. So they only sponsor you for this. But there's no reason to really sell it. So I can put it on my khaki. Yeah, my khakis are ridiculous. Mine's just like that orange thing. Just see oh my god. That's good because like I can find everything. Oh, that's so cute though. You know, right? Okay, let's go. We're finding chairs, guys. Yeah, we'll set up for the next chair.
What are you guys doing?
Funny chairs for music. You know the
Yeah, the soft chairs.
yeah.
Okay, then I'll stay here and guard everything then. Cool.
Okay, see you. Hey, thank you.
Yeah, but I need to look after the stuff because everyone had and then went to get Amy and Rochelle went to get tables. We need to set up for the presentation part. Yeah. Now I'll just wait for the presentation and I'll shoot on the presentation.
Do you have questions?
Do you know anything?
Oh, no, this one actually is really useful, but it's going to find out, figure it out in an hour.
Do you know, at least you know the login?
Yeah, I've heard the login, so yeah.
Yeah, but it's just like, we're at this blah blah event with a magazine speaker, blah blah blah, at that hashtag.
What is that hashtag?
Hashtag, I don't know, what's the hashtag for this one?
That's right.
Just create one. I don't think she has created one yet. Yeah.
Is that
That's good. A lot of people.
They don't need to stand because they've got lumbar support.
Lumbar
support. Lumbar support. That's what my friend always uses. I'm like, it's just like back support.
lumbar support. Get back to be protected. Mix.
So what do we need to do here? And
It's like writing the plates. Because you know how we went usually have get those expensive plates?
yeah,
For like this sort of plate, we don't recycle them anyway. We're gonna wash them,
yeah.
you know.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, we're reusing them. Wash them.
Yeah.
But it's like same deal with all the other plates that we're getting, like more expensive recycling plates. What's the point of getting more expensive recycling plates?
But these will be used.
They haven't used.
Oh, no, there's one here. Ah, there's that one. Yeah. Well, that's okay. I can use this.
Yeah, we need to throw all these out.
We need that.
Get to the, so empty to the non-recyclable first.
Yeah,
Well,
but
the plastic next to the recyclable.
Like this.
Right outside. We might keep this just in case we need it. Yeah. So, yeah. I'll try to do that. fail, you know?
Yeah.
Like, is everyone in one room?
No, no, 3 seconds. This was when we were getting.
Oh, front of the room. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, what? So we're in this room here?
What's these? Just put it in the bed, and then keep this other thing next door to the bed.
I don't know if it's gonna work. Come with me.
One has replied to my snap.
It's the best snapshot of your life.
I see the really interesting like Snapchats of my life, and then it's things at me. Everyone's there. Yeah, exactly. Please give me your reminder. These are clean.
Yeah. They're all great. So chuck them into my suitcase. Wow.
Do we need a table for the
Yeah.
we can use these ones, can't we?
Yeah, this one's
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
We do like put everything up first. Where? Thanks for your stuff.
And these go in a bag as well, right?
Yeah, everything goes into my bag.
Wow. I think the sushi was a really good hit. Yeah. I was really surprised at how good they were.
How good they were?
Yeah. Did you have any?
These are yours. That's
These are
yeah, chuck them. Actually, yeah, just chuck them in there. We need to wash your keep your stuff up.
we can bring them to. Is there the business?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to walk into
Yeah.
we've got a kitchen there and stuff. So where's your bag? Where's the kitchen? My bag is the
What's the table going to be? The presenters have a table.
yeah. Can we having yeah, we're gonna give them some paper, some pens, and some water as well. So
This is big enough for 2 people. I mean,
3. Yeah.
Can you show your on using it?
Actually, no, we already got these. We'll give these the stickers when they want to put it. We'll leave them junk there. What did I dropped these.
We can actually think about trying to. Ow! I'm ready. Yeah, for next time, I need to brainstorm like.
Detergent?
Yeah, just
I want detergent in my kitchen.
Right. Preferably brush detergent on wipes and vacuum cleaner.
It's good to vacuum cleaner. Whatever.
Yeah.
Do you have more paper? Like paper? Sneakers? I know Jason has some like we need to wash up, I think. Do you want me help to bring stuff?
Oh, yeah.
If it's on your way, because I'm going to end, so I can arrange if you're heading that way.
Are you heading that way? If you're heading that way, I'm pretty sure I'm here. Someone needs to be here look after all the valuables.
I can go over that, but I won't be back by 8.
When you need to be, like, you don't
I don't need to be here.
Yeah, you don't need to be here anyway. And the plates will just go. You probably just need to rinse them. You don't need to like stuff.
No, yeah, I just like, yeah. So, let me dry them.
Well, I think you need to try them. Snap them together.
Yeah, and then. Do you want me to take it? Or do you want me to
Oh, it's not that many. You can just turn it on your bed.
Oh, no, bed. You can
Like on your bed. Like anywhere, like for storage. But I'm happy to pick up your content.
Okay.
Yeah, but actually you have to come back anyway. Like just it's okay. Spread the wet ones, don't like wrap.
I should have enough time to
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, if you have plastic bags, grab 2 plastic bags and then you can just turn them in plastic bags and I'll store them in my closet. Because you need to come back to return the people anyway.
Yeah.
Because we need the keep up to run shop.
Yeah.
So
Any of them chunks of storage?
yeah. Like storage bag. Yeah, we do a vacuum cleaner though. That's okay, I'll pick everything up.
I think
I'm
it's
pulling
one.
it anyway. I just pick this up.
Do they not, I can clean it. We just my room. Like,
Wait, oh, did you guys all arrange it?
yeah. We bonded in the brain.
Hey, what is it?
Where are you going? You go back to the, but where are you going to watch? In the,
Oh, you're really.
I thought you did something else. What else? Are these just going big? That one should be, yeah. Bin.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll leave one here where I pick up all the random stuff on the.
Are we gonna bring you a lip roller? I can bring you a lip roller.
We can just
You won't be successful on the big content.
Oh, just put on that music after that.
Oh,
You
yeah.
don't think you need to pick on
Yeah, that's a
that puppet, you know. Yeah, we're relatively like stuff off. Like one flat is not it.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's okay. It's easy to pick up.
You guys okay though?
Yeah. I'll look up everything. Yeah. Oh, no worries. Thank you.
Let me know when you need it back.
Yeah, take your time. Thank you for looking it up. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.